Fine face. Good face. Fine face. Good face. Fine face.
And it gets your face like warmed up.
Super serious.
Where nothing fun or funny ever happens.
This is a super serious thing.
I don't even like dogs.
Super serious.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Super Serious Dog Podcast, hosted by Courtney Cuellar and myself, Misha Bielitsky. Welcome. So, as you guys can see, if you're watching the video version, Courtney has a super duper, extremely adorable puppy. She's a French bulldog, aka a Frenchie. Her name is Luna. Can you snort?
Say hi.
She snorted. There was a little snort.
Awesome.
How old is she?
She is 12 weeks.
Oh my God. She's perfect.
She's tiny.
She's weirdo.
Mm-hmm.
She's learning how to be a good girl. She's going to be a pet dog, and she's learning how to be a lap dog because that's one of the things her owners want.
Yep.
So she's sitting in Courtney's lap. So if we have to pause.
Yeah, we're going to see if we can make through the whole podcast with her in my lap. No guarantees. There may be a random intermission. In here. And then all of a sudden there's not a Frenchie in my lap anymore. Because, I mean, she's 12 weeks old. Like, her attention span is short.
This is so cute. I hope she just passes out and starts snoring, and then we can just record some ASMR, like, audio of her snoring.
Me too, honestly. Like, she is probably tired, so like maybe we'll look out.
Yeah, it's hot as hell right now. So
yeah,
we're in a
it's
heat
like
wave.
105 or something, but it feels like 115.
Feels like you're walking to an oven every time you go outside right now. It's supposed to go down. Like it's supposed to be pretty hot today, and I think tomorrow, and then it's supposed to. Wait, is today Monday? Yeah, today's Monday. So, wait, I just broke the fourth wall. Oh no!
Oh no! Now they know.
Now they know it's not Friday. Oh no. But yeah, so one of the things I wanted to talk about today is, are you a good student? Are you a good client, basically? Because it's something that
I feel attacked.
Something Courtney and I have both been, right? We've both been students. We're basically perpetually students. We've come to accept because we don't know shit, and then we go, oh, as Courtney said in a different episode. But yeah, so I figured we could share some of our experiences when we've both been shitty clients / students and good clients / students, and what that means and kind of what you can do if you find yourself in the crappy student category. Because, we don't want to talk shit about our actual clients because everybody's at different stages in their lives. They're all, sometimes you hire a dog trainer and you don't even have the capacity because it's already kind of too late or something like that, or whatever.
For example, I joined a kickboxing gym with every intention to go multiple times a week and really just commit to it and be a badass, right? And then I went twice and in the same week. And so I was like, whew, here I go. Like I am on top of it. And then the next week I went once, and then later in the week something happened. Like I hurt myself somehow. Like it was nothing serious, but a minor, it hurt. Somewhere. So I didn't want to go work out. That seemed like bad. Torture, right? Bad idea. So I only went once that week. And then the next week I was still kind of sore from whatever had hurt me the week before. And so I didn't go at all that week. And then once I hadn't gone at all that week, I don't think I went the next week either. But the following week I went once. And everybody there was like, hey, welcome back. And I felt so just like welcomed. And I did the workout. And I was like, yeah, whew, that was really hard. I have no idea how I did that twice in 1 week. And then I was like dead the rest of the week because I was dead. It was a crazy workout. And then I think I went back one more time a couple weeks later, and I got like nauseous halfway through. And then I left and I never went back. So that is an example of me being a really bad student. Because I had the best intentions when I started. I spent the money. I paid for the membership. And then I didn't follow through. I I got distracted, got busy, I hurt myself. I had an excuse is what I had. And that's what it is.
Commitment's hard, man. Like honestly, everybody asks like, I follow like different workout type personalities and bodybuilders and random stuff like that. And like, honestly, one of the biggest questions that gets asked all the time is like, well, where do you find the motivation? But unfortunately, motivation has nothing to do with discipline at all. And it's actually discipline that's lacking. Like you literally have to just say, no, I'm going, even if I go for only half the class or have a shitty workout and I don't give it my all or whatever. Part of it is finding that routine and building the discipline, and then the motivation comes next.
Yeah, that is hard for me when it comes to specifically working out. And for some people, that's hard when it comes to their dog or dog training.
I think everybody struggles with working out, especially right now.
My husband works out, and like he used to not, and it's amazing that he does now as much as he does, because I'm like, how do you do that? And he always tells me he hates working out. He doesn't enjoy it. He never wants to do it when he starts. But then I see him by the end of it and he's like, yeah, I just picked up all those heavy things and put them down. And I'm like, that's amazing. And I've seen him get better, and I'm like, that, so it can happen. I've literally watched the process. I know it can happen. And I know there's some, workout people that are like, yeah, just do it. But for me, it's hard. And then, dog training is not as hard for me. So when I'm teaching people, I definitely feel that sense of like, just do it. Just do it better. Just remember to do it. It's important to you, right? And I see
Put
that
it in your calendar. It's not that hard.
Right. I see their eyes kind of gloss over, and I can tell, like, they have reasons why this is hard for them.
Yep.
So my goal is always to try to find a way to help them, like putting it in your calendar, setting a timer, something like that. But
ultimately, hard. Like, there's only so much we as teachers can do.
Yes.
There's the whole concept of like the master coach or the master teacher or whatever. And like, you could go hire the best of the best in the entire world in whatever category, whether it's dog training, bodybuilding, Olympic skiing, I don't know, whatever. Right. And like, if you are not willing to put in the work, if you're not willing to receive the information that's given, it doesn't matter. You have to have the motivation and the drive, and you have to find it. And it only comes from within, and just deciding like, I'm going to do it rain or shine, no matter what, and not having those arguments with yourselves. But that's obviously easier said than done. But at the same time, it's not. Like, it's really as simple as like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to stick with it, period. I worked out today for the first time since probably April. I think like end of April is when I kind of petered out with what I was doing and stuff like that.
At the beginning of April, though, I remember you were like on it with the workouts, and I was like looking at you the same way I look at my husband. I'm just like, how do you do that? I can't do that. Yeah.
For me, it was like I was already going to the gym since like the September of 2019-ish, somewhere around there I started. And I hired a personal trainer, and I was going twice a week with them, and then at least once a week without them. And then I just started adding more and more and more, and just kind of incrementally adding things that I wanted that would benefit me, right? Like a day of cardio, a day of whatever, a day of blah, blah, blah. And I had like a specific routine I was kind of following. But like, I didn't want that discipline to go away. So that's why I was really on top of it. But then that was sort of with the anticipation, like maybe I'd be able to go back to the gym in a month or two.
Right.
So it was easy for me to be like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to like keep going with it. But then of course, as with most people, I got extremely depressed because life sucks and it's confusing right now. And like it's hard. It's hard because you don't know. There's so much uncertainty. And, if you're struggling with something like that, like, honestly, I had to just let myself wallow in it a little bit. And now I'm just tired of being sad. So I'm taking control of the things I can control. And honestly, it's the same thing with my dogs too. Like I've gone huge periods where I don't do shit with my dogs. I would just
same.
Just let them be dogs and take care of them to the best of my abilities. And it's okay if you're in one of those positions, right? Like you have to find the strength from within. But there are some things that sometimes people do that are within their control. that they just don't want to listen. And I think that makes our jobs as teachers really, really, really hard. Because it's kind of hard to stay motivated to teach you if you're not putting in any effort or any time. Like, I don't know how many times. What were you going to say, Courtney?
Well, that was one of the huge contributing factors to my burnout. Was I was putting in more than some of the people I was working with, and it's like, I don't know what the thing is, but you always notice like the bad stuff, and you don't notice the good stuff. So unfortunately, I wasn't noticing the clients that were following through and asking good questions and being the good students. I was only noticing the ones who were not really committed, weren't really into it, and I was basically carrying them, and that inevitably led to more stress and more doubt in my abilities. And my burnout is because I carried the weight of so many people and their dogs, and they weren't committed to it.
Yep. And it's really hard especially because like dog training is such an empathetic field, right? Like you can't be a good dog trainer and not have some sense of empathy unless you're just all ego, right? Like then you can be a great dog trainer. In the sense of like on paper or on videos, you look like a good trainer because like, everything, blah, blah, blah. And, not going to name any names or anything like that. But yeah, I think part of being a good dog trainer and part of my criteria is empathy and being able to put yourself in their shoes, but also find that like middle ground too of okay, like, yes, you have to be understanding and you have to help them to the best of your abilities, but at the same time, like, you have to know when to be kind of a dick to them and be like, look, dude, like, you need to fucking put up or shut up or stop tying my hands behind my back and telling me to work miracles, basically. And I think that's pretty, that's really hard for me. That's a skill I am actively working on. That is a category I am a student in because I'm too fucking nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so story when I've been a bad student. So this is dog training related. So a long time ago, before I was a dog trainer, I hired a dog trainer. I had just gotten a dog. I named her Calliope. She was this scruffy little adorable, like 25-pound border terrier schnauzery looking thing. She looks like a little cow. And she was feisty as fuck, just like a schnauzer would be, miniature schnauzer. And I didn't know what I was doing. And she would just pull like a maniac. She refused to go to the bathroom in the same place every time. So like I would take her on these long walks and jogs in the morning. And I'd be like, okay, we're at that stopping point where like the last few times you like to shit here. And she'd be like, no, I don't want to shit there. Fuck you. So I'd find a turd in my hallway like 10 minutes after a minute after coming back home and all this stuff. And she would bark and she'd bite the shit out of my Lee, and like any guests or whatever should lose her mind after like 2 hours of them being over. So naturally I hired a trainer, and I was 50-50. I was a good student because I was dedicated. I was determined. It was a new year, new me type sort of Misha situation. I was like, I'm going to get a dog and do stuff and blah, blah, blah.
I think a lot of people can relate to that right now.
Right. So I did the things. I did everything that my trainer told me to do. And the few things that I didn't do that I would like slack off on or procrastinate, I was extremely honest with my trainer. And I was like, I didn't do that shit. I felt horrible this week, or I don't get it or whatever. And of course he'd do the like, why didn't you fucking call me if you didn't get it thing that trainers do.
I'm familiar with the thing.
But yeah, and I did the things, I did the techniques, but they weren't working. And I didn't understand at the time, because it was my first dog, that like, if something's not working, you need to communicate that, and you need to either practice more, work harder at it, ask for more information, or just say, hey, is there something different? And it's hard to know. It's hard to know as like the non-professional, the non-enthusiast, like even if you're an enthusiast, like how do you know how much to put into this particular technique or method or whatever before you give up and say, dude, this isn't fucking working. And so like, I stuck it out. And eventually I ended up realizing that it was also just a really bad lifestyle fit. Like I did not choose the right dog for my lifestyle. I should have gotten like a senior dog who was a couch potato, but I wanted one to go jogging with me and stuff like that, you know, and still she was very hard-headed on top of that. And on top of that, I was working probably like 50 to 60 to 70 hours a week. So that also was super incompatible with dog ownership, and tried to take her to doggy daycare, all the stuff. So eventually I ended up rehoming her to my boyfriend's now fiance's mother. And so she gets to stay in the family, and she's like a totally different, amazing dog. She needed all the rules or none of the rules, and she would thrive. Not this in-between bullshit where I was like sort of a leader and learning how to be one. And she was like, I see right through your shit.
Right. So you don't know what you're doing. Watch what I can do.
So when I tell my clients, like, I've been there, I know exactly how you feel, and I know how like hopeless this feels, but just trust me, you just have to stick it out and something will click in your brain. And if I didn't have like the job that I had at the time, and I didn't have to work as much as I did, then it would have been very, very different. Like I would have stuck it out and I would have figured it out, but I just couldn't. I physically could not. So yeah, I've been a shitty dog owner too. And I can say that with pride. That it all worked out.
Yeah, it all worked out. I mean, sometimes that happens, and look where it got you. Like in a roundabout way, it brought you around to here. Now you're able to share that story with people, and people can learn that it happens to everybody. And that if you don't understand something being taught, ask questions. Mm-hmm. That is something that I'm learning how to do better. Because I am an observer, and that's actually how I've learned most of what I know is by watching. Yeah. I learned by watching dogs. I learned by watching people teach dogs. I've learned by watching dogs teach people. You know, just the whole roundabout thing is I've just watched. And I've asked questions, but I'm trying to get better at asking questions, and I encourage my clients to ask me questions. And I've actually had a client tell me that they don't know what to ask me.
And that's okay.
That's okay too.
Totally fine.
That's okay.
But you should still call your trainer immediately if that's the case, though. Yes, if you're like, I have questions, but I don't know what they are. Because your trainer, they will help you figure that out.
Yes.
Unless they're an asshole and then you need a new trainer.
Yes.
So you bring up a really good point, though, is like, so I got this from Verbal Judo. It's a book written by a guy.
I have heard of this book.
It's a really good book. I really like it. I highly recommend it. It's applicable to anybody and everybody. It basically takes the concept of judo, where you take your opponent's momentum and all that, and you turn it against them. And it's all about deflection and defense. It's not an offensive martial art. And so it's verbal judo is like the verbal equivalent of that. And the whole premise is that we are taught to debate, and we are taught to sit on a soapbox and talk, but we are not taught to actually converse and communicate and deal with difficult situations. We read, we debate, we soapbox. That's it. And so, it's a very good, very, very good book, like I said, for all kinds of things. But ultimately, one of the things that sort of stood out to me is that it is the speaker's job to make sure that the listener understands and can basically digest the information that's being given. However, even though it is our job as speakers to make sure that you or teachers or whatever, right, that you understand the material, it's also the responsibilities on the student to speak up if they don't understand, right? Oh my God, she's snoring.
Yeah.
It's really cute. If you are listening and not watching, I highly recommend you go find this on YouTube as soon as possible, and just fast forward to like the 20-minute mark and see this adorableness that is happening right now, because it is perfect. She's got one little arm over Courtney's.
Out.
I would say this is a successful training session for her.
Yes. Me too.
But yeah, so back to the whole who bears responsibility.
Sorry, we were talking about something. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's our job to make sure that we say it, but like if you're not understanding, we can rephrase it. one of my favorite things is to find a way for somebody to understand. If I have to go through like 20 different analogies, I will find one. I will find one that you understand.
And like you guys would not believe how many we have. Like we have a lot. And then sometimes I've had this where like I'm trying to explain something and I'm not hitting the right one at that moment. And so like we move on, we start talking about something else. And then I'm like, oh, this brings it back around to what I was trying to say earlier. Cause like a lot of things in dog training and especially in dog behavior are related to each other. They tie back around to the similar concept or, like the brain is pattern seeking and survival oriented. That comes out in a lot of different behaviors. So a lot of things will circle back around to that.
Can you just tilt the microphone towards her? Because, my God. I'm trying so hard. Oh my God. Oh God, I'm gonna start crying.
I don't know how long you wanted me to do that for.
It was perfect.
But she is passed out.
I was trying so hard to be quiet. Oh God.
Woke her up, damn it. It's okay. Readjust.
All right. Welcome back to our show.
If you don't appreciate that, you probably shouldn't be here. It's a sleepy baby.
What a sleepy baby. I think that one big factor too is like patience, communication, I think are pretty key in terms of any kind of good student-teacher relationship. There's going to be plenty of time. Like you are a teacher, right? If you have a dog and you're trying to teach it something or live with it, you are a teacher, whether you freaking like it or not. So it totally makes sense that the person who's teaching you how to be a teacher is probably a really good resource for that. And probably, hopefully, can gain an appreciation for sort of like that extra element that goes into it, because we have been there probably 1,000 times more than you have, like not just with our dogs or our client dogs, but also our clients on top of that. So that's a multiplicity right there. For every client, there's at least one dog, and a lot of clients come with a whole household full of other clients and other people.
Right. And like a lot of times, as much as I do encourage to have the whole family at like lessons and stuff like that, sometimes that's just not doable. So I have to not only teach the client in front of me and the dog in front of me, but I have to teach that person how to teach the other person that I don't know, which that one is always just a shot in the dark, especially if I've never interacted with the person. I'm like, okay, I don't. Because there's a lot that goes into the way you teach different kinds of people, and that's stuff that us as teachers are forever learning about. And so if I don't know the person I'm teaching, for me it's kind of hard to just shoot in the dark, and that's why I don't do a lot of social media education. Because when I talk about stuff, I try to do it on a personal level that will reach the person, not just a blanket statement thing, which, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great blanket statements that are out there, and I encourage them, and because those will reach somebody too. They're just not what I want to put out.
Right.
Because I want to put the thought into how I'm going to teach this person or reach them,
You started to touch on a really good point. And that is like, I think as a student, one of the things that you can do to help yourself and help your trainer, your teacher, whatever it may be, is figure out how you learn best. Like if your teacher or whoever isn't giving you stuff in writing, but it really helps you out a shitload to have stuff in writing.
Tell them that.
/ take notes, right? Or ask them to type some stuff up. If you're like, I don't really understand that concept, like if you could write that up or whatever, like I'm more than happy to oblige. And like, I don't always send write-ups.
Well, and that's something I was going to say too, because the flip side of that is someone who gets overwhelmed with too much information,
Right.
Someone who needs it to stay like a casual conversation. Whereas if you show up with a binder and homework and stuff for them to fill out and stuff for them to read, and you're saying a lot of stuff to them, by the time you leave, they're going to be like,
too much.
that was too much.
Yep.
So, definitely communicating how you learn best, or if, you'd like something extra, a good trainer will definitely provide that for you. And if the trainer says, well, I don't do that, come find me.
Right.
Or Misha.
Right. One of my favorite things that I learned in like the last few years is like how to tell what kind of learner somebody is. Like, so let's say you have a family that shows up to like a pickup lesson for a dog who is there for a board and train, and you're explaining like equipment that was used, you're explaining commands that are issued, you'll explain whatever. That person that's always like pretty eager to get through the talking, they're not being a jerk, right? They're more hands-on probably. And there's always that person who will like as you're explaining and showing something, they'll like take it out of your hands and start messing with it. They're like, yeah. And they start like pushing buttons or like twisting things or whatever. That person's a hands-on learner. That person, you should probably speak minimally and get right to here's the high notes. Like, don't do this because you'll hurt your dog. Do this and we'll figure out the rest together as we go, because like otherwise you're just going to lose them.
Right.
All that time that you're spending talking, you're just going to go in one ear and out the other anyways, and you're going to end up repeating yourself.
Whereas other people don't want to touch anything until you've explained everything, and then as they touch it, they want you to kind of re-explain it just to review that before they touch anything, they're doing the right thing. So yeah, you have to approach people differently in how you teach them, and you have to learn from them how to do it, because a lot of people won't just come right out and be like, hi, I am a visual learner.
Right. Yeah. And most people, even if you straight up ask them like, hey, are you a hands-on visual learner? Like they might just stare at you blankly and be like, I don't know. But, so ideally, if everybody did know that and they filled out their application with, I'm exactly this combination of learning styles, that would make our lives easier. But so the more you can learn about yourself, basically, is what we're getting at, the better, because then we can help you better.
And I'm just going to throw something out there. The more you learn about yourself, the better your relationship with your dog is going to be.
Yep. Just let that one sink in.
Just let it sink in. Just let it sink in.
What's really funny is that also is very applicable for relationships. Just general interpersonal relationships, right?
Yes,
like there's that whole adage, like you'll never find love until you love yourself or whatever.
There is truth in that. I mean, I don't believe it as a never, but you definitely need to understand yourself if you're ever going to connect with anything else. Mm-hmm. You got to connect with yourself first. Mm-hmm. If you don't know what that means, send me a message. I'll explain it. Mm-hmm. It's a whole other topic. I've read lots of books. Like it's, and it does tie back into dog training, but that's again a whole nother topic. Lots of books, lots of long conversations.
You know what that reminds me of? So like every once in a while, I get a client that's like too knowledgeable about too many different things, in the sense that like they hop around from technique to technique and they never give anything enough time in and of itself. That can be pretty frustrating, but also just detrimental, because like I told you, when before I was a dog trainer and I was an accountant and I hired one, I thought that like this was the way, and I did the one thing. So I didn't know to like, ask for more information or ask for a different technique or whatever. But there's still plenty of people who are just like, well, I know you told me to do this, but halfway through the week, I started doing this completely other different thing. And you're like, okay, there's a reason I didn't tell you to do that. Like, I know about that technique and I didn't show it to you, not because I don't think you're capable of it or whatever, but because it's not appropriate for your dog, your situation, for you, for whatever.
Yeah.
Or whatever, right?
A trainer I used to work with, Danielle, used to say that there's like 87 ways to teach a dog how to walk on a loose leash. My job is to pick the 1 or 2 that are going to work for you and your dog.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you need me for.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go learn all 87 if you want. It's going to take you and your dog forever to reach your goal.
But like, there's a reason we don't tell you all of them. Like if I told all of my clients 5 different ways to do every little thing, again, it's information overload. Your brain would just explode and you'd be like, well, I don't know which one to do. And you'd hop around, and like, it's much better to master one thing and go, this isn't working. Like, which I didn't do with Calliope. But again, other issues, etc. But like, as opposed to just hopping around between things, because then you're being inconsistent, you're not being clear, you're not finding the finesse within the technique or within the tool or within whatever it is that's going on. And so, you you got to kind of like give it the good old college try, if you will.
All right.
Beforehand. So, but yeah. Man, that this episode went by really fast. I feel like I could definitely keep talking more about this stuff.
Well, we have a place where we talk longer about stuff.
We do. It's called Patreon. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's like super long episodes on there.
And interviews and stuff.
Yeah. More interviews.
Pretty exciting. More interviews, yeah. We're starting to do more for our, quote, free episodes, so stay tuned. But they're going to be really short. Not as good as on Patreon.
You should definitely check out Patreon. I put up some random videos on Patreon sometimes, and I include cute shit like this dog.
Like just
and she's so sleepy. She's like, what are we doing? Why are we moving?
She's like, can I go back to sleep now? So yeah, go to patreon.com/super serious dog podcast. You can contribute whatever you feel comfortable with. If you can't support us monetarily, likes, reviews, shares, all that fun stuff is super, super helpful. Super duper, super seriously helpful. So thank you guys again for listening. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you next week. Puppy, wherever puppy is. Puppy.
I thought she was going to snore again.
No, she's past that.
She's so tired.
She's cooing. Oh my God.
Nothing. She's so tired. Her head is like falling over.
That's so cute.
All right. Anyway, I think we're done with the episode.
We're done.
Okay.